Okay, so this year we have a lot of interesting propositions on the ballot.
Well, sorry me asking, but what's a proposition?
A proposition is an initiative by citizens to change the law.
Do all states have propositions?
No, only direct democracies.
What's a direct democracy?
A direct democracy is a form of government where people directly choose on these propositions.
So what states have a direct democracy?
Only 8. So we have Arizona, California, Colorado, Michigan, Montana, and Nevada.
Okay, well, what propositions are we going to look at today?
We're going to be looking at Prop 64, legalization of recreational marijuana, Prop 66, death penalty, and Prop 67, ban on plastic bags. Let's go!
A yes vote on Proposition 64 will allow persons over the age of 21 to possess 28.5 grams of marijuana, 8 grams of concentrate, or 6 plants as long as they are not visible to the public or accessible to children.
A no vote opposes the proposal to legalize recreational marijuana and will maintain the illegal status of possession and cultivation of marijuana for recreational use.
Revenue generated from marijuana sales would be allocated to drug rehabilitation and education programs as well as environmental reform.
There are 2 propositions about the death penalty on the ballot this year. Prop 62, which completely gets rid of it, and Prop 66, which makes it way faster by setting deadlines for the trial and the execution when the person is sentenced to death, as well as putting all the claims and pleas to get off of death row into small claims courts as instead of like the Supreme Court, so you can't do that anymore. And it also requires workers or prisoners to become workers and pay off their debt to society to the families of the victims that they've killed or harmed.
Prop 67, regulation of plastic bags.
A.C.E.
The California plastic bag ban veto referendum.
Basically,
A yes vote in support of prohibiting grocery, convenience, and certain retail stores from providing single-use paper or plastic bags to customers at every step.
and pretty much saying a yes to this proposition would be a vote in favor of the ratification of Senate Bill 270 enacted by the California State Legislature, which states the same conditions for plastic and paper bag restrictions.
A no vote is in opposition to Senate Bill 270 and would support the use of plastic bags at every grocery, convenience, and retail store purchase.
Go vote! Yeah. Minutes of the election.
You need to go down to the polls and vote, even if you think your candidate is going to win. It may be a landslide election, but if everybody thinks that she's going to win anyway or he's going to win anyway, then they're not going to vote. And if nobody votes, then they won't win. It just makes sense, it's logic. And same thing with, let's say, a neck-and-neck situation. Both parties want to go down to the polls and start voting for the candidates and getting them to win because they're afraid the other party is going to start voting.
Another common myth about the American presidential election is that only the popular vote matters. This isn't always true. For example, in 1824, John Quincy Adams ran against Andrew Jackson. Quincy Adams had 38,000 fewer votes than Andrew Jackson, but still won after the Electoral College resulted in a tie, so the House of Representatives had to decide.
Have you ever wondered what the Ventura County elections look like? The people of Ventura County vote on supervisors. The supervisors then vote on projects, like infrastructure projects and other projects that affect your daily life. Well, who are the supervisors?
Kathy Long is currently retiring, and the candidates are running for the 3rd District Supervisor position.
Now, who do we have running for the 3rd District spot?
We have Carla Castilla, a businesswoman, and Kelly Long, another businesswoman.
So what does Kelly Long promise?
To increase law enforcement, reduce traffic, and fight overdevelopment.
Now, what does Carla Castilla promise?
Good paying jobs, to keep the environment safe, and have good neighborhoods.
Now you know what they promise. But who sponsors them?
Kelly Long is sponsored by Ventura County Republican Party, California Independent Oil Producers, and Supervisor Peter Foy.
Carla Castilla is sponsored by firefighters, sheriffs, and other unions.
Why is knowing where their funding comes from so important?
Knowing where their funding comes from is important because it influences their decisions. Carla Castilla is influenced by unions, firefighters, nurses. Therefore, she'll influence and expand the unions. Kelly Long is influenced by oil companies. Therefore, she'll expand oil production. Now go out there and use all this knowledge to make an educated vote.
Popular votes are votes of the people. When we vote for the president as well as for the members of the Electoral College Pledge.
Electoral voters are members of the Electoral College. These voters are chosen due to their loyalty to their party. These members are supposed to vote for their party but are not required to. This is why some presidents win the electoral votes but not the popular votes. The most recent was Bush in 2000.
Each elector casts one electoral vote following the general election. California, our state, has 55 of these. The candidates need 270, which is over half of the 538 total.
People vote for electors that represent certain political parties. The amount of representatives and senators a state has is used as a number to pick electors. For instance, Cali has 2 senators and 53 reps from the House, so electors from parties like the Republican, the Democratic, and Libertarian parties make up 55 electors. The electors have the true power to vote on which candidate earns the presidency, where majority rules 50+1.
However, this system is slightly outdated because the means to receive an average American vote today takes 0.12 seconds, to whereas in 1790, it could take weeks for every individual American to ride horseback to deliver a vote. This meant representation was necessary.
We automatically receive 2 votes due to our senators. Then for every 700,000 people, we get another electoral vote. So due to our population of 38.8 million, we receive 53 electoral votes. That in total is 55 of the 538 votes overall.
Presidential election is important because of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court judges actually serve for life. Right now we have an open seat on the Supreme Court. If Hillary Clinton wins, she's going to vote for the next judge. Vice versa if Donald Trump wins. For the Supreme Court, the president appoints a judge and the Senate votes on that judge. Historically, a judge holds the views of the president who elects him or her. The legal view of the court affects us all. Where the court moved from here will impact the generation to come.
Hillary Clinton has raised about $687.1 million for her campaign, and Donald Trump has about $250 million for his campaign. This is important because you may not know that they used to have a limit. This limit used to be from something called the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, which was overthrown by Citizens United. Now, before we can get to Citizens United, we have to talk about the birth of soft money. Soft money came about in 1974 when the Federal Election Campaign Amendments of 1974 was created. What happened was they formed the first meaningful cap on what an individual can contribute to a candidate, $1,000. This may not sound like a lot, but it was 1974. After this in 1978, the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, changed this ruling. They allowed political parties to accept donations that exceeded those caps, as long as the extra money was spent on, quote, party building activities. And this created what is now known as soft money. So what does soft money have to do with Citizens United? Well, it kind of doesn't, but does at the same time. Now, why? Well, in 2000, the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, the cap for the individual contributions to a candidate was up from $1,000 to $2,000, and from $20,000 to $25,000 for individual contributions to a party. Now, where soft money came in was that in that section of the money contributed to a party, this amount became regulated more closely. The soft money now to be considered as regular money and could only be spent outside of a certain range. And this helped to slow down the explosion of money going into the presidential election. But this ended being a major way of stopping the election from getting out of hand. I mean, if you can really believe that. This went away pretty quickly. In about 2010, Citizens United, a non-profit organization, tried to release a film criticizing Hillary Clinton. Now, this was blocked by the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, so Citizens United stepped up and went against the government, and this re-allowed soft money. What does this mean for the modern candidate? Well, it means that candidates can get money from just about everyone. Because under Citizens United, a corporation gets just as much political say as an individual. Whether either of us can donate to our heart's content, but a company has much deeper pockets. This also influences super PACs, or well, actually where they came from, groups of billionaires coming together to heavily influence political elections. Well, where do candidates go to spend this money? And realize the candidates we have now are on the start of the rise of more free spending money. Well, they spend it on advertisements, travel, or campaign staff, so different things that can really emphasize either their party or things that can help their race. Where do they get this money? Well, candidates get their money from a few different sources. They can get it from the general public, like you and me, where they go to a website and just click a donate button, or they can also get it from something that is called a PAC, or a super PAC, where PAC stands for Political Action Committee. These PACs are actually groups of individuals with large amounts of money, and they come together to help make decisions with each other to decide if they have a certain candidate that they would like to forward. And they also create super PACs, where they are independent political committees that get together and decide where is their money invest with whoever the sides of their interests are, but these guys have a lot more money than the smaller PACs. And lastly, they can pull out of their own pocket for money, something that we see Donald Trump quite willing to do. Before we leave you though, realize that all this money is just the money that each of the candidates themselves has. That doesn't even include groups that take interest in different candidates and produce advertisements for the candidate. That is something even more unregulated. Next time you see a candidate doing something outrageous, think about how much it costs to get them there.